It is the American flagship of sports movies. We can't say anything less about it. I don't care what you think about the acting, the actors, right? Or even the subject matter. You show me a franchise that has to do with sports that is this successful, that has this many followers, and that's ingrained in pop culture in the way it is.
Maybe we could talk about some of the themes, some of the themes that pop up in Rocky. The first one that I thought of was the one that the slogan in the first one, which is go the distance.
It's also in the song.
In the theme?
Yeah, in the Survivor Eye of the Tiger song, I go the distance, now I'm back on my feet.
Oh, that's right.
That is a theme in that whole thing. Yeah.
Did Eye of the Tiger, did they write that?
Yes.
For this, because I believe that was Rocky 3 that they use it in. Eye of the Tiger.
Correct.
Yeah. So they wrote it for the third movie?
Yeah, and the original cut that they had, the pre-cut, the rough cut, they had Queen in it, We Will Rock You, in the movie. The person who wrote the song said he saw it and watched it and was just like amazed. Everything was on cue. Everything was on beat. It fit perfectly with the thing. And they're like, why aren't you going to use that? Why would you ask us to write something? And he says, because we can't get the rights to it. He writes Eye of the Tiger, perform it, and it fits. And then it charted on the billboards. It became a Billboard #1 single. You know what I mean? So it actually became an iconic song that really fit the theme, but they had saw it. So it's not like it was done before and they put it in. It was something that was written specifically for that portion of the movie. And another thing too, like there's a tie-in with Karate Kid, which is the Joe Esposito wrote the You're the Best around.
Yeah, that's my playlist. Okay.
That was supposed to be in Rocky, right?
Oh.
Yes, that was supposed to be in Rocky.
Okay, I can see it.
Right?
So,
yeah. But then they went with the Eye of the Tiger song too. That gets bumped, and then they wind up using it in Karate Kid.
The theme song, like just how that came together.
Yeah. Dude, I hear that get so hyped up. To me, that song is just as iconic as Chariots of Fire, that song from Chariots of Fire.
Oh.
Dude, those two songs are iconic.
Yeah.
Like you hear them and you know exactly what they are.
You're gonna go pick up a brick and run. I mean, that's when I started training with you. Like, number one on my when I got up in the morning was the Bill Conti Rocky theme, and it was like waking me up. It was waking me up, and then it wasn't bricks that I would carry around, but it was just that idea of it's go time. And
right. Wait. We didn't finish the through line because the through line on the first one, because, talk about going the distance.
Okay, yeah.
With the exception of, I think it's Rocky 3, that's the one with Mr. T, right?
Yep.
Okay, with the exception of that, they go 15 rounds. Again, we don't do 15-round fights anymore, right? That's done because people were suffering from exhaustion and a number of boxers died as a result of it. The idea was that you go the whole time. You don't quit. You don't give up. You keep fighting. And I think that is another through line, is that never quit, never, die trying. That to me was one of the strongest through lines in the whole thing. You can overcome adversity at all costs.
So many aspects of that. But my favorite
Right.
my favorite scene right before the fight. So I'm talking about part one, laying in bed, in his broke down home, and
Mm-hmm.
the bed's kind of not even the best shape, but he's laying in bed with his girl,
Mm-hmm.
with the love.
Seeing that bell rings and I'm still standing. I'm gonna know for the first time in my life, see, that I weren't just another bum from the neighborhood.
It's such a beautiful scene that you don't see a lot in films where they take the time and he's just so vulnerable, and he's like, I just want to go the distance. You knew right there that that's all that mattered. Like, that's all that mattered. But then you didn't know the outcome.
Right. Right. Yeah, and again, that was in the Ali Chuck Wepner fight. That was Chuck Wepner was saying, he's like, I just want to show that I deserve to be in the ring with somebody as great as him, that I can be in there, I can do it, that I'm better than people think I am. He did what no other person had did prior to him. Ali had to get up off the canvas, and it was really because of his ego. He had underestimated Chuck Wepner. He had overestimated his skills, in this re-entry fight. And it really showed that if you bully him, if you press him against the corner, Ali will fold. And so Ali had to change his game and invented the rope-a-dope, right? And working off the ring so that he would be able to weather the storm until he could get back into the center of the ring. And so that's really what you see from Rocky. Rocky was an endurance fighter. He was going to pressure you until you were tired, until you made a mistake. So what he was doing was relying on his training. When you're gassing, I'm still at my best. When you're on that downward trajectory, I'm still at my best. You'll see Floyd Mayweather is one of those types of fighters. He's counting on you getting tired. He's training harder when everyone else is asleep. He's training. He trains 2 times a day. We're talking about 2 camps pretty much every day when he's fighting. He only sleeps for a few hours. The rest is training from start to finish. He's exactly the way he came out. Like, you're tired and he's still going. So Rocky would outwork you. Mm-hmm. Chuck Wepner decided to outwork Muhammad Ali because Muhammad Ali didn't take the training seriously at all. Neither did Apollo Creed.
And you talk about that when we train, or there's certain ways of training. You're training in that exhaustion. Like, you talk about Lomachenko and the different ways that he trains. I find that really fascinating to train the body that way and the mind.
Yeah, because when you're tired, that's when the mistakes happen.
Mm-hmm.
When you're tired and you can't be rational, that's where everybody is born with a certain way of fighting. And it's either good or it's bad, right? And then what we do is we take the fighting spirit and refine that fighting spirit, but lurking still in that mind, even though you got all this training, it's still that default survival instinct. So how do you train that survival instinct? You make a person tired and you exhaust them, right? And then you give them some light sparring. Then you give them some light fighting so that you're starting to train within the context of their survival mechanism, their fight, flight, freeze, and I like to throw feel. I'm tired. I want to quit. I want to go. It's like, no, this is where the work starts. This is where it's over. Let's see how that person manifests, what those survival instincts coming up. That's Rocky. You know what I mean? That's literally Rocky's fighting out of that. I got to survive this thing. He didn't go in there and win. He went in there to survive. He just wanted to last the rounds, like you said.
Yeah.
When he came back for the second round, he wanted to win. I think Sylvester Stallone was the same way when he took the role. He's like, I just want to make this movie. Like, I just want to be in it.
Especially when you only had $100.
$100. Yeah. He's like, you don't believe in me. You don't believe I can do it. They didn't believe in Rocky. You didn't believe in me, right? I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove to you that I can make it, that we can do this, that I'm a good actor. He wanted to prove that he was a good fighter and that he was deserving of the opportunity. Once he did that, then the trajectory opens up.
And I think that's why number 2, I like it so much, is because we kind of return back to we return back to the themes, but we take it to another level. But bringing back Apollo Creed, it's like, hey, we weren't done yet. And then it's like in boxing, the iconic fighters, at least back in the day, they would always come back. They'd always come back for each other. Some of them become friends too.
They go back into a ring where there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And he's, and they're like, so you gonna ring the bell? And he goes, ding, ding. You know what I mean?
I'm still young enough to whip your butt, Stallion.
Oh, yeah? Well, how are you going to do that? You taught me everything you know.
Almost everything. You got to remember now, you fight great, but I'm a great fighter. Huh? You ready?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Stallion, it's too bad we got to get old, huh?
Just keep punching, Apollo. Want to ring the bell?
All right. Ding, ding.
Another theme that I think resonates is family. Rocky 2 became one of my favorites. My wife at the time, I was watching, she hated the Rocky movies. And because she was like, she thought that was like the all the American guys, thing. I'm like, no, sit down and watch it with me. But the second one, it was like he knew what he wanted to do, but then life showed him something else, right? And then he had to make a choice. And so what I love about that film is sometimes it's not just your training. Sometimes it's about the people that you're doing it for. Spoiler alert for part 2, but
this is all spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. Adrian looks at him. She just says win, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, like his shirt. Like the shirt. I want to get that shirt.
You look so tired. Why don't you go get some sleep?
Oh, no, I feel great. Listen, I've been thinking, if you don't want me mixing with Creed no more, we'll make out some other kind of way,
There's one thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here.
What?
Win. Win.
What are we waiting for? Take this!
Hearing the words from the person that he loves, because he's been sitting with her, not training, right? So from a physical standpoint, physical and mental, it's like you're not training, and you're gonna go against, the champion, and you're not training, but it's like where his values are, where his integrity is. And I got to tell you, the first time I saw that, I believe I did tear.
I teared up too.
Yeah,
I think it was probably the first movie that I teared up on. Yeah, to be honest with you.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. I think it was. I think it was epic. I think the because people don't realize that movie was supposed to end at Rocky 1. It was not supposed to be a Rocky 2. Actually, they originally thought that he was going to end it by taking his winnings and buying Adrian a pet store.
Like that, they were going to end it like that?
They were going to end it like that. Right? So thank God, whoever, Burgess Meredith or whoever helped him write that it didn't end like that. But one of the producers, and I forget his name, they were going to kill him off in that street fight with Tommy Morrison in the alley.
Man.
Right? They were going to kill him off. And Sylvester Stallone said he cried. He actually cried writing it because it was like killing him. It was like suicide for him because he was so that character. He was Rocky.
Yeah.
And he turned it in, and one of the producers said, Batman, Superman, Rocky, they don't die. He said, heroes don't die. And so he went back and rewrote it after that, where he survives. But unfortunately, the trajectory of having a character that wasn't supposed to make it past one, right? You got a sequel, wasn't supposed to really make it past three, right? Got another one, right? They're not writing with the continuity in mind that there's going to be multiple ones. Each one they thought was going to be the last one. So what you wind up with is a person who knows how to be a good boyfriend and husband, but a bad father. So when we start talking about family, we have to talk about the disconnectedness between him and his son. Right. This is one of the reasons why I was saying that where Sylvester Stallone was a different fighter who fought when he was old guys or something. I don't know. What was it called?
The De Niro one?
Yeah.
A grudge match.
Another version of a Rocky movie, an unfinished match that he had with someone else. And I think it actually helps flush out the character more. Actually fits into the Creed movies because you see him have this issue with his son.
Yeah.
And that issue with his son started in that Tommy Morrison movie.
I thought we were supposed to be be very close. Hey, come on, kid, I love you.
No, you don't.
Sure I do, Remember what the deal was? We were supposed to be, tight, like crossed fingers.
No, what you want is you and Tommy be tight. That's you really talking about.
Oh, don't say that.
Why can't I say it? Since he's been here, it's Tommy this, Tommy that. You don't have no time for nobody, so I got no time for you.
Hey, what are you saying to me, kid? You're like another person.
You're the other person. You said I would be number one to you. You said that and you lied. You lied to me and you lied to Mom.
I never lied to you. Tommy needed my help.
So did I.
And I believe in Grudge Match, he talks about having a kid but not seeing him.
I think so, yeah.
So you got that through line right there. That's what I'm saying. I think all these movies are the same character because they're all Sylvester Stallone. You see this person that's about family but not knowing how to be a father is really interesting because they never really talk about it. They never really talk about where his father is.
Yeah, no, they don't at all.
You see what I'm saying? So I think it really, it fits. I don't think it was intentional. I think it fits though.
It wasn't like necessarily the main plot, but it was definitely a subplot of for the character development.
Mm-hmm.
But they revisit, like Rocky Balboa, the scene with his kid. That's another iconic scene.
Yeah.
Take a hit, keep on coming.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother.
Big spoiler. Creed 2. Wow, I was so happy. I was so happy that last scene.
I also want to talk about the fact that, Sylvester Stallone talks the way he talks, I think normalized his speech impediment. And that kind of drove the character too, because he didn't know how to talk to people. You know what I mean? He didn't have a lot of conversation. He's kind of more of a yes or no kind of guy. And so even being able to articulate his affection for his wife was really difficult. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, you felt more emotion when he was like speech slurred. He just did the best thing, he just did the biggest thing in his life. And all of a sudden he's calling for his wife, not his mom, not his father. And she's, Rocky, you know what I mean? That was really, if he said it correctly, enunciated all the words, it wouldn't have had the same impact.
Right. The emotion, the passion.
Yeah, he was he was a man of few words, and and he wasn't able to. And again, the inference is that from boxing and getting into fights that he kind of was a little jacked up, like his speech was a little slurred. So for me, that was kind of some of the realer things too, because I know lots of fighters. I don't know lots of fighters, but I know some boxers who talk like that, who really slur their words, almost like they've had a stroke, Mm-hmm. So to me, that added an air of realism too. Also, the fact that he has a very small group of people that he trusts, and whether it's trust or likes is two different things, right? He puts up with Paulie in the later ones because of his relationship to his wife.
And you never let me down. And I treat you bad too. Why do I do that, Rocco?
Hey. You're still my best friend, Paulie. Yeah, my very crazy best friend.
What am I going to do now, Rock?
What do you want to do?
Can I move back in the house?
Sure, but what about your girlfriend?
If I'm going to be lonely, I'd rather be lonely with you. And she snores.
When he goes into those spaces, you can see he's all heart, but if you keep fucking up, I'm gonna turn into that guy who breaks legs. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really want this problem.
You owe me!
What do I owe you?
You're supposed to be good to me.
What do I owe you, Paulie? What do I owe you? I treat you good. I cook for you. I clean for you. I pick up your dirty clothes. I take care of you, Paulie. I don't owe you nothing. And you made me feel like a loser. I'm not a loser.
You're busted.
What? Oh.
You're not a virgin. You're gonna take down your pants. She's busted. I can't hold me no more.
Paulie's character dealt with like he drank a lot, I mean, mm-hmm. And the fact that he screwed them over a few times, and he really screwed them over in 5.
Yeah.
And for Rocky to forgive him and still love him, and then but yet still having to find a way to there's a couple of other key moments in the franchise that deal with family, but mainly like the speeches that he does with Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
But in each movie, they kind of like they resonated with me because I really felt like it was the trajectory of the growth of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like I could relate with it because as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even think about it this way, or yeah, I'm dealing with this. And so I think it might have been 2, but there's a scene because I think Adrian didn't want him to fight, and then he just says he doesn't he's a fighter,
mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, so that theme of owning who you are and like you like to say all the time, be in your nature. Mm-hmm. It's like it's really hard to get away from You know, even though as dangerous as his wife saw it, it's like if you take that away from him, what is he?
I ain't supposed to do no commercials, and I ain't supposed to work in no meat house. I'm supposed to be a fighter.
But you gave that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm becoming a nobody again, too.
In whose eyes? Not mine.
In mine. In here.
We'll get by.
I just did. I don't want you to get by the hard way, you know? I want you to have good things. I want the kid to have good things.
We'll have him.
I just think we need him now, don't you?
Oh, Rocky, please. You don't have to prove anything.
Adrian's all I know.
I don't want you to do it.
That's all I know. Adrian. You know, I never asked you to stop being a woman, you know? Please, I'm asking you, please, don't ask me to stop being a man.
You know, I think if they had introduced a father role, it would have reduced who Mickey was. And
Yeah.
some of the that's in Rocky 1 where he comes up to Rocky's apartment. That was some of the best acting. That was some of the best acting I've ever seen. I mean,
It stinks in here.
yeah, exactly. Of course it is. It stinks in here. You don't care about mom. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. And then when Burgess Meredith goes to show him the paper,
Yeah.
you know, that was like this real vulnerable place. And
Completely vulnerable. On yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to stop. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, there's a thing where he go. I think, you know, I was looking for the actual lines, but he's like, "Who do I trust? Me? Who do I?" You know what I mean? Like he was a guy who was he was all he had.
Mm-hmm.
He was all he had, and then he had come to Mickey the whole time. I just want to know why you keep sticking it to me. I've been coming in 6 years. I've been coming in 6 years. Yeah, bomb. You know what I mean? Like that thing is really kind of like I'm. You know, I know you're using me.
You follow that, do you?
Fight said I don't need no manager.
But you can't buy what I'm going to give you. I mean, I've got pain and I've got experience.
No, I got pain, I got experience too.
Listen, kid.
Hey, look,
Just
hey,
be-
Mick.
What?
Look, I need your help about 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago?
Right.
You never helped me. You didn't care.
Well, if you wanted help. I say, if you wanted help, why didn't you ask? Why didn't you just ask me, kid?
Look, I asked, but you never heard nothing.
Well, I'm 76 years old. And,
And then when Burgess Meredith leaves, you see that heart kick in. He's like, shit, like, you know,
Family.
yeah, this is exactly, you know, he's like, this is the father he never had, you know, and he wanted to know, you know, when he's in the gym, like, why you don't love me? You know what I mean? That's really what we're talking about. It's like, why you keep sticking it to me? It's like, why don't you love me? That's what he's not saying. You know what I mean? That's what he means, but that's not what he's not saying. And it's like, now that I got some money, you show up here like all those fathers who have kids that go to the NBA they've never seen, and then all of a sudden when they get money, they show up. It's like, why are you showing up now? You know what I mean? That was so, you know, important to me as it moved on, because, again, that was really indicative of, it was real representational of like the life that I led, you know, as a kid, you know, when you don't, you know, when your father's in and out. But I knew lots of guys who had no fathers, you know, or or knew who their father was, but the father never acknowledged them. You know what I mean? And so to me, all the things that Rocky was not saying played a big role in the movie.
10 years you come to my house. Huh? What's the matter? You don't like my house? My house stink? That's right, it stinks!
I ain't asked no favors from you. Don't slum around me.
Talk about your pride.
What about my pride, Mick? At least you had a pride. I ain't had no pride. I ain't had nothing. Legs are going, everything is going. Nobody's getting them nothing. Guy comes up, offers me a fight. Big deal. Want to fight the fight? Yeah, I'll fight the big fight. I wouldn't want to fight that big fight. Who's gonna happen to me? I want to get that. I want to get that. And you want to be ringside and see it? Do you? You want to help me out? Huh? Do you want to see me get my face kicked in? Legs ain't working. Nothing's working. They go on, fight the champ. Yeah, I'll fight him.
My face kicked in.
And you come around here, you want to move in here with me? Come on in, it's a nice house. Real nice, come on in and move. It stinks.
And then, you know, at the end of that scene, you get Rocky, there's that beat, and then he runs out and chases after him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, you know, again, he's chasing after that father that he never had, you know, the father he always wanted.
So beautiful.
But never the father that he had, you know, and that to me was huge.
Yeah. Facing your fears. And you know, in Rocky 3, the theme was, in my opinion, the theme was you have everything, you're at the top, and then someone who's hungrier, you know, life or whatever, Clubber Lang in this case, but you know, beat him, and then he lost everything, but then also he lost his mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And
in that movie, because of Clubber Lang.
Yeah, and he broke, you know, so he's just he's broken down, but yet in that movie, he starts training with Apollo. So then he's training, right? He's like on the outside, he's like, you know, he's getting back into it, he's changing, but it's still not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you're rooting for him, but then you're like, he's not healed yet.
Mm-mm.
What's the truth, damn it?
I'm afraid, all right? You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid, too. There's nothing wrong with being afraid.
There is. For me, there is.
Why, you're human, aren't you?
Look, I don't know what I am. All I know is I'm a liar, and because of that, Mickey ain't here no more.
You didn't push him into anything. He was a grown man, and he did what he had to do. And you have no right to feel guilty for what happened. You don't. You were a champion, and you did what you were expected to do. And you did what I and everybody else thought you should do. And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real, that you were carried? Well, I don't believe it. It doesn't matter what I believe, because you're the one that's got to carry that fear around inside you. Afraid that everybody's going to take things away. Afraid you're going to be remembered as a coward, that you're not a man anymore. Well, none of it's true. But it doesn't matter if I tell you. It doesn't matter, because you're the one that's got to settle it. Get rid of it. Because when all the smoke is cleared and everyone's through chanting your name, it's just going to be us. And you can't live like this. We can't live like this.
That Burgess Meredith, first of all, that death scene hit so hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, it sealed the deal on who Clubber Lang was. It really defined who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. And Burgess Meredith did a great job at, you know, using that as a conduit for a death scene.
What to do? Nick, whatever you want to do it, okay?
I love you, kid. I love you.
Nick, Mick? Mick! Mick! Mick doesn't hurt!
It really brought me into the movie. Then when Apollo kind of took over the training thing, it was really Apollo saying, you got to be a slick fighter. Like, you can't tough your way through this because he's too big, he's too strong. Right? You got to make him miss. You got to throw them punches. You got to light him up. He was out-Rockying Rocky.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was – there's always somebody tougher. There's always somebody hungrier. You got to be faster, slicker, better. You got, you know what I mean? And that's really kind of the idea in the game of adjusting, adapting to your circumstances, adapting to the situation, and being able to rise to the occasion. So for me, the Apollo character really gave him that sense of slick black fighter. You know what I mean? The style, gave him a style that he didn't have before. Because remember, Mickey says, you know, you want to know why I don't train you is because you're a leg breaker. He said, you got the stuff to be a good one, but you're out there, you're a leg breaker. You're not committing to it, right? He wanted you to live and die boxing. He didn't want you to kind of have a second way out, right? Yeah. And then when he got the contract and he was able to say, you know, I got some money I can live on. Now I can train. I don't have to worry about hustling for money. I can become the fighter that I know I could be. And that's what actually when Paulie comes in. I mean, that's actually when Mickey comes in and wants to train him now, because it's like now you have time to devote to it. Not only do I get my second opportunity as a champion, but I can do this other thing. So jump ahead, when the person who believed in him, recognized him, and was a father figure to him, right, dies, he doesn't believe he can do it anymore because the only person that believed in him was Mickey.
Mickey, yeah.
Because Mickey said, you got the stuff to be a good fighter, but you're a leg breaker. So he even gave him the accolade that he was looking for. It connotes the idea that there is much more than a trainer role for him. And the death of that person was big. And they even tried to echo that in Creed because he became a surrogate father figure for Apollo's kid.
Yeah. For Adonis, yeah.
But notice the same thing happened, you know, but see, the thing is he's taking on this other kid, almost like a second kid, like a second son, but he has a son.
That he doesn't
have a relationship with.
Right.
You know, and he did the same thing with Tommy Morrison, kind of became that father figure for Tommy Morrison. Like, it's just, come on, man. Like, you know, and so it really took, you know, I think it was a great way of bringing the thing full circle by having this other guy go like, you know, I'm not your kid. I have a father, but you need to spend time with your kid.
Whew. That's the real there.
Because that's what Tommy Gunn's character should have been like, hey, go do, go deal with your son, you know?
Right. To be his support, to be there for him, just as he was there for him.
Exactly.
And then to be real with him.
Exactly.
So you're talking about like when Apollo came in, Mickey dies. So that's his mentor / father figure. His former, adversary comes back and becomes his friend, his trainer, revises him, refreshes him. Also, they bring it to LA too. You take it from this more cold, Philadelphia, and then let's come, come over here. We got some sun, we got some, and then it's really neat to see that that process, that growth, you know, because he has to learn how to, like when you do the salsa dancing, man, you know, get a little music in you, you know.
Yeah, and I think that what they're also kind of showing was that the fact that Rocky was going to Hollywood. You know, he's doing photo shoots and he's on covers and he's got the big mansion and the cars and all these other things. And it's like it made him soft. That happens, I guess, to every boxer. As a matter of fact, I was watching a documentary. They had renovated a closet in the gym so that this one boxer could live there. After he became champion, he's like he don't have the belt. He doesn't cash his paychecks. Like he just, you know, he has his wife put it in the bank and he doesn't and he still lives at the gym. He lives like he lived every day to win that championship, and he continues to live that way.
So he still is fighting. He's still competing.
He's still fighting and competing, right? And he is a champion. But like bantamweights, like a lot of people don't know those little guys, you know. But the thing is like he's like you want. They were showing a young up and coming fighter, like what it takes to be a champion, and they took him to this gym where this guy was living there, and they're like, he's like, dude, ain't you a champion? You're supposed to have cars and money and all that. He said, I can enjoy that when my career is over.
But not even live with your family.
Well, I mean, he visits them and they do the thing, but he lives in the dorm.
That is a sacrifice. Wow.
Yeah. He said, because that's how we was living when I showed up.
I see.
You know, and it's worked this long, so why change it? You know what I mean? I got to respect that because it keeps his competitive edge. If he's like, oh, I'm going to be with the kids this, you know, I'm not going to show, I'm going to call in, you know, a little late because the kids, the birthday and all this other stuff. It's like, no. Well, they'll appreciate it when they got college fund. Sure. You know what I mean? They'll appreciate it when they get to have a car or what they want on their birthdays. You know, my grandkids will do it. You know what I mean? But he has to. This is his job.
Yeah.
And they respect it. You know what I mean? And it can't be easy. But again, this is what Rocky was confronted with.
The other perspective or the other approach, Terrence Crawford, right, where everything kind of comes back to home, and I don't know how many kids does he have, but like
a ton.
Yeah,
a ton of them. Like George Foreman got a ton of them.
But like Crawford, he's always about giving back to where he started. You know, like I think he still has a gym where he originated from, right? And he brings in kids to train. I think that's Terrence Crawford, right?
I'm not too sure.
Okay,
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, me trolling or stalking him on Instagram probably.
So, you know, the Cold War theme, it was kind of death of an era. Like this new Ivan Drago was coming in and he was supposed to be the new dominant thing. He was going to show dominance over all the American fighters. He was going to show dominance over the American people. He was trying to prove that there was a Russian superiority in that space and that he was a force that America had to rebel against, essentially the American fighter was obsolete. There's a couple ends of eras with Apollo Creed. The same thing happened. Rocky came, ended that era, and he became a trainer. Apollo dies in 4, right? And so again, it's like defeated, like the American, the great American that comes out with the hats and all the stuff was just destroyed. A metaphor for kind of a dystopian kind of thing, because when he goes to fight him, he has to go back into that Russian thing and train like they do in Russia with the, you know, chopping wood and, you know, running in snow and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it, you know, to really train to the extent of this other person who doesn't have all the super stuff.
Like, did you see it as like, this is American, these are the Soviet Union?
Yes, 100%.
And then I don't know if it was at the end where Rocky's holding the flag and he's, you know, I mean, I know he has that speech.
In here, there were 2 guys killing each other. But I guess that's better than 20 million.
Я думаю, что это лучше, чем даже 20 миллионов долларов.
So what I was trying to say is that if I can change
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился сегодня.
And you can change.
Вы можете измениться.
Everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
But then I still feel like there's a little edge. I don't know. Just my own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the triumph over evil kind of theme. You know, I mean that as Americans, if we keep working hard, we'll triumph over evil. Cold War narrative that was perpetuated back then. And for me, people who don't remember the Cold War era and Reaganomics and all this stuff, Gorbachev, tear this wall down. I mean, like it was kind of all over the place. So they capitalized on it. I remember in wrestling there was the Iron Sheik and Nikita Koloff, which were the Russian guy and the Middle Eastern guys who were like supposed to be the big enemies at the time. So for us, this was just a ever apparent theme. So it was natural for Rocky to get in there. But I think the thing is him going off grid and training in a way that was really, really organic, really reflective of what he did in the very first beat to win the title.
That's why a lot of people talk about Rocky as being the American hero, that kind of thing. Although the characters and themes in the films and the franchise resonate, I think, in the world they resonate, but I think there were definitely specific things that they were gearing American audience for.
Well, yeah, and they're taking advantage of the propaganda, selling an enemy, just like after 9/11, pretty much all the villains were from the Middle East, Prior to that, though, all the villains were Black and Latino or Puerto Rican. I mean, like every minority gets its opportunity to shine based on the propaganda that that America puts out. And so because that's already a wave, it's already got a huge amount of following, then, why not just capitalize on it? One of the things about John Wick, one of the interesting things is it's called John Wick because Keanu Reeves kept saying the name of the movie wrong. Right? And so he kept saying, people would like hear, I hear you're working on a new movie. And you go, yeah, I'm working on John Wick. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, that's not the name of the movie, Keanu. Right? It's called Scorn. That's the name of the movie. And he's like, okay, what are you working on? John Wick. So they go and they tell the advertiser, not the advertiser, the execs over at the studio, like, what are we going to do? He keeps promoting John Wick, but the name of the movie is Scorn. And you're like, dude, we're going to change the name of the movie because we just got $1 million of free press. Right? So they changed the movie. So the same thing happens when you see like these Cold War movies is because America's put out so much propaganda and creating an enemy. All they say is like, oh, well, let's just make him the enemy in our movie. Mm-hmm. Right? If we were in the Vietnam War, it'd probably be some big Vietnamese guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have been the thing. Or if we were at war with China or something, or having a conflict with China, it would have been, a large Chinese guy, like that. But the thing is we keep creating, as a society, we keep creating monsters. We keep creating an enemy. We keep creating somebody of fear. And so Hollywood keeps capitalizing on it. Mm-hmm. I got to say that I didn't realize I knew as much about Rocky as I did. Like, I was like, where's all this shit coming from?
Exactly. I'm really into this franchise for so many reasons, and I enjoy that I can have this talk with you because some of the things that I've always think about, I don't really share it. It's so. Again, like my ex-wife was like, "Why are you watching this all the time?"
Right?
It's okay. But and I think there's a lot of guys out there, to be honest, that didn't Ryan Coogler, the director of Creed, writer director of Creed, he said that. He said that, you know, it was the movie that him and his dad watched, or it was the movie that his dad loved. And then when his dad got sick, he knew that that's where he wanted to go with the Rocky franchise, taking it into a new direction by bringing back the Creed character. And so it's like we talk about Stallone and where it comes from, somewhere very personal, and then now we're talking about this newer generation, and Ryan Coogler saw something, and then Stallone was, you know, luckily, you know, we're so lucky that Stallone said, yeah.
Right.
I was really inspired to write it, you know, really out of my relationship with my father. He and I are real close, and, you know, I was an athlete growing up. Mostly through his guidance, you know, he would take me out for football, take me out for martial arts, basketball, all that good stuff. And what he would do is, before I have a big game, he'd make me sit down and watch Rocky 2 on VHS. You know, that was my introduction to the character and to the story. Apollo Creed's family, 'cause that was my favorite character from the franchise. You know, and it might be for me being black myself. You know what I'm saying? And or it might be just from Carl Weathers' performance, you know, and him kind of channeling Muhammad Ali, but making it his own. You know, he was an incredible character, and I really liked how intellectual he was shown to be, and how in control of his own destiny that character was shown to be. So he was a character that I really liked. So I knew it would be interesting to explore like what happens to his family when somebody like that dies. You know what I mean? Like I was going through the experience of possibly losing my father, you know, and it was that kind of idea, you know.
That was a good one, you know, because I didn't know that about the Ryan Coogler.
We're getting older.
Speak for yourself.
And, but Stallone talks a lot about how Rocky Balboa was just as difficult to get made as the first one. And so again, and I don't know how many years it was from Rocky 5 to Rocky Balboa, but it was like, in a way, people had forgotten, like, or I don't know if they've forgotten, but they were just like, I think we're good with the Rockies. It's like, you want to make another one? He's gone through these experiences. He's lost bits and pieces of his family. He's trying to get back bits and pieces of his family. Again, you see him making the choice of what he wants and what he believes in. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on Rocky, the later years, and kind of like how that resonates with you, or you know, whether it does, and that kind of thing.
As I said before, like I'm a fan of Rocky 1, 3, 4. Like that's it. You know what I mean? Like I've seen all of them, but the ones that really matter to me are those. Then we start moving into Creed, where we see a different version of Rocky. And it's really important that we see the digression from a has-been fighter to an amazing coach, right? We're seeing somebody who invested his money and has a restaurant and is living a pretty good life. You know, somebody who has problems, and now the fight that he's having is the fight to keep his kid and to be in the life of his grandkids. You know what I mean? Like the fight continued, but I thought that the struggle for him as a fighter ended after Dolph Lundgren.
Like it could have been done right there. And again, it's the fact that it kept going. They're able to visit these other things. And you know, a lot of people say that they don't like the later films because he goes, in a way, they think that he goes back to who he already was. So, but I think that's it. I think Creed 2, I think that's the last of Rocky, I think.
I don't know if that's going to be the last of Rocky. We're going to see like a cybernetic. He's going to be just, I am Rocky, you know, sipping puff. He's going to kind of getting wheeled into like Creed 3 million, you know.
Oh, I'm in.
You know, but like he said, Rocky cannot die. You know what I mean? Like the producer said, Batman, Superman, Rocky. American heroes. He's the working man. He's the guy, you know, he's the underdog. He's the guy who's going to, through sheer will, change the tide, change his fortunes. And if you can put up with it, if you can weather the storm, you can do it too. And that to me is what makes him approachable. That's why the Batmans of the world need to exist, because it's all his intelligence, it's all his will, it's all his training. That's what makes him different than people who are born with superpowers or got bit by a spider. It's human effort, ingenuity, and just willpower. We need those Rocky movies. We need to inspire another generation of men or male-bodied individuals to know that if they fight hard enough, they can achieve anything. And that's kind of the legacy of the Rocky franchise. And I really hope that they don't let it end there. You know what I mean? That they find another way. It's the grandkid of Rocky. It's but a legacy of what he started and what we can commend him for.
You had talked about a possible prequel, didn't you? Didn't you mention that to me one time?
Yeah, I'd heard it. I heard that there was a prequel, but I don't think it ever went anywhere.
How do you feel about that?
I would love it.
Yeah,
I would love it. I would love to see, especially nowadays, where they could take a Burgess Meredith and bring him back. You know what I mean? Like they could CGI Burgess Meredith. I mean, there's so many different things that you could do for a prequel, but more than anything, I would like to see Rocky's family. I'd like to see his father, his mother, if he had brothers, if he had sisters, you know what I mean? Like, I would like to see how he met the loan shark, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to see him training, with Burgess Meredith. I would like to see a young Rocky coming up through the Golden Gloves, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to, you know what I mean? Like, all these things. And maybe even that's the hook where, he's coming up through the Golden Gloves, borrow some money from a guy, right, who makes him throw a fight, and now he's kind of hooked into this guy, and he starts breaking legs for him, and then that puts him on the outs with his coach, right, and now he's kind of living this street life, and now you're starting to see him become this other Rocky character, and then come out of it. So I think that would be a great arc.
Yeah. Anyone know Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, man. I just pitched your next movie, bro. Like,
yeah, no, I love that. I love that idea too. And no, you did a really good job. I don't know if that was your intention, but you really did a good job summing it up. And I think when we talked about coming back to head and what we wanted to do, this was the first one of the first conversations was, let's do Rocky.
We did a good job. I think we touched on some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
If you look hard enough, you can see your whole life from up here.
How does it look?
Not bad at all. And you?
Not bad at all.
Boy, you really move good for an older guy.
Oh, you're looking good, Stallion. I taught you well.
I think you taught me too good. Looking fly.
Look out now. No, you don't want any of this. Come on, come on.
Maybe I'm in here with the wrong guy.
Come on, watch yourself. Ready?